Welcome to Dr. Jester Rants, and the first episode of the week. Well, as you all know, stupid doesn't rest during the weekend. Even though, technically what I'm going to rant about, it's a series of articles from two newspapers, from Post-Millennial and The Blaze. But first and foremost, let's open with this one. Post-Millennial. Olympic weightlifter speaks out against biological male competing in women's events in Tokyo. Belgian weightlifter Anna van Bellingen calls the situation of having a biological male who identifies as transgender compete in the women's weightlifting event a bad joke. Well, turns out, I kind of agree with her. Let me put it this way. I say it on every single video which I cover these things, and it's important for me to make it very clear. Well, first and foremost, I support transgender rights because that has to be said, because apparently people like to take things out of context, so they try to cancel you. I support trans rights. I support the right to choose the bathroom they feel most comfortable with in using, at least as long as you don't look like a man gender. And look for Urban Dictionary for the definition of man gender. I contributed to that one. Either way, you should have the right to dress as you like. You should have the right to shove a dick up your butt if you want to, or, I don't know, to do whatever you want. You have the right to adopt kids, you have the right to marry. I support all of those things. I support your right to existence. I support your right to have the same exact payment as any person of any gender in any job. That includes male and female only. All of those things. But apparently, having that support is not quite enough. I have to go so far left that it goes back into denying science, kind of like the old Christians back in those days. You know, the 80s, 90s, well, even lower than that, but still. Those are the decades that I experienced and I'm more familiar with. So I'm using it mostly from experience. So we return to the days of Puritanism, in which science denial was the standard of things, and they were, after all, insanity. Anyway, but first and foremost, let me just go on and say that, and I say it on every single video, is that a biological male, has a huge fucking advantage against a biological female. Yes, even if you transition from male to female, the only solution, the only way I see a biological male competing against actual biological females, as in women, I can't believe I have to say those things, but still, is if the person transitioned very early and did not go through male puberty. But that's a problem that needs to be discussed as well on another video perhaps, in which I have a very serious problem with the idea of delaying puberty, using puberty blockers and things like that. I have various issues with that, but that's a discussion for another video. Either way, males have an inherent advantage. It's difficult to put it this way, but having the muscle strength that a male needs, they need it for hunting and things like that. They needed it back in the day. They were the hunters. They were the providers for the village, for the family, and things like that. So we ended up evolving for those things. We have extra slots, well, not slots, hooks, perhaps, I think that's a better word, here and our skull, and our shape of the skull and things like that. For extra muscles, for extra strength, for many things that we needed back in the day. And we have very clear advantages when we compete in those In those sports, you can see that that's why Olympics have a different category from male and female. Yes, exactly. That's why they are different, because of those advantages, physical advantages. We have better lung capacity, we have more muscles, we are capable of running and doing a whole lot more things than a woman can. It's evolution. Denying it is retarded. But let's go. As Laurel Hubbard looks to become the first trans woman to compete in women's sports in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, women who would be forced to compete against Hubbard are starting to speak out. Belgian weightlifter Anna van Bellingen calls the situation of having a biological male who identifies as transgender compete in a women's weightlifting event a bad joke. I agree. Van Bellingen would be a direct competitor to Hubbard as she competes in the same 87 plus kilograms division. First off, I would like to stress that I fully support the transgender community and that what I'm about to say doesn't come from a place of rejection of this athlete's identity. Van Bellingen said, "Yeah, it's amazing that we actually have to come out and say those things first, because morons like to take things out of context and use it to cancel us." Anyway, I am aware that defining a legal frame for transgender participation in sports is very difficult, since there is an infinite variety of situations, and that reaching an entirely satisfactory solution from either side of the debate is probably impossible. Agreed. However, anyone that has trained weightlifting at a high level knows this to be true in their bones. This particular situation is unfair to the sport and to the athletes. Anyway, the normal healthy range of testosterone in men is 9.2 to 31.8 nanomoles per liter. The International Olympic Committee (IOC) requires that male-bodied transgender individuals who want to compete in women events have lowered their testosterone levels to 10 for a period of 12 months. The normal amount of testosterone in women's blood is 0.09. Yeah, that's still too much, I am sorry. So why is still a question as to whether 2 decades from puberty to age of 35 with hormonal system of a man who would give an advantage in competing against women? Van Bellingen said, "Yes, it will give a huge advantage. Let's move on." Hubbard dominated? Oh yeah, I made a video about her in a few, I think in a month or so ago, when it came out that she was definitely being chosen to compete, and it showed that she won one of the competitions in the Pacific Games, and the people who competed against her were miffed, because after all, she had to go through male puberty, lived a good chunk of her life as male, enjoyed the male evolution and transformation. These things don't disappear when you just switch off the male testosterone. They stay there with you, albeit obviously not as the same strength as a full-on male without cutting those things out, but still, it's bad. And then you also have the fact that with the strength, they actually can hurt women a whole lot more. Anyway, let's go and cover the blaze. As you can see, ground news, most of the news in this is being covered by the right, but still, let's go. Transgender woman weightlifter Laurel Hubbard in Olympics is like a bad joke to biological female athletes, competitor complaints. It's the same thing being covered by post-millennial. Anna van Bellingen. Well, at least they actually did separate the name over here, which seems to be much more correct. In a way, it's the same thing, but here we have more shenanigans, because this is actually pretty stupid. The Blaze trans female MMA a fighter lashes out at Joe Rogan, says he should stop talking about transgender athletes. Why? Why should he? I don't think he should. He should keep talking about it. And people need to talk about it, because this is absolutely wrong. I am sorry, it is. A transgender female athlete said that Joe Rogan should stop talking about the contentious issue of transgender people competing in sports. fallonfox retired from fighting professionally in 2014, but regularly speaks out in defense of transgender athletes. Fox was born a biological male. The 45-year-old spoke against Rogan and other critics of transgender athletes in an interview with ET Canada. A lot of prominent people were talking about a bunch of horrible things. The Joe Rogans, the Ronda Rouseys, the Dana Whites of the world, said Fox. From what they said about me in the past, I would have just crawled up into a ball and given up. I would have just stopped competing, but I didn't. I kept competing and I kept talking about these issues, and I'm going to continue to do it. Well, isn't fallonfox responsible for breaking a woman's skull in a fight? Maybe I'm misremembering. Oh well. Fox went on to opine that Rogan, one of the most successful podcasters in history, should simply start talking about transgender athletes. No, he should not. I am sorry, he should not. No, he shouldn't speak, especially on this issue that's so important to transgender people's lives. Just like the CCP virus is important to people's lives, he should bring up these things and just makes them up. Fox argued against Rogan claims that biological males had an advantage over women because of the natural bone density differences. Not only that, muscle density as well, extra muscles and things like that. African American women have more dense muscles than Caucasian women do. I don't see anyone saying that they shouldn't have African American women competing against cisgender women. Well, we also have not only bigger bones, but you also have the advantage of growing and dealing and enjoying the full-on male testosterone throughout parts of your life. You shouldn't be talking, I think it's just bogus for them to even bring up bone density in the first place. Things like that people that bring out of thin air and don't stay out there. Fox went on to complain that Rogan and others like him don't appreciate her importance to the world of sports. Yeah, breaking women's skulls. Yeah, okay. Rogan has been criticized by many on the left for arguing against the practice of hormone therapy for young children who may exhibit some gender confusion. There's no reason. Oh, sorry. There's no reason to give kids hormones, said Rogan on his podcast in 2019. People don't know who they are. Who they are at 7 years old, he continued. People don't even give the 7-year-old phones. You don't let them vote. You're gonna let them decide what sex they're gonna be for the rest of their life? Yeah, it's absolutely 100% correct. Then things like this should be talked, should be discussed, and once again, this is very important. You shouldn't put biological males, at least biological males who went through a lot of testosterone therapy, to fight against biological women. Jesus Christ, why do I have to say biological women or biological males? You get it. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this type of content. Stay right here on youtube.com/Jester and bitchute.com/Jester or minds.com/Jester for exclusive content. It even has a thumbnail, a different thumbnail for exclusive content. Yes, production values. What do you thought about that? Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a very fucking good night.